Welcome to this week's episode of Sharpen Your Axe. Today we're going to talk about the 40-10-5-2 rule. Curious? I was too. Listen and figure it out. You know, Mike, one of the things that I've been fascinated about, because I'm not this way, is your ability to sell. You've got an entrepreneurial spirit. You've always had that stick-to-itiveness to carry forward and to sell and to knock on doors and to deal with what oftentimes is rejection.
Yeah.
One of the things we deal with our salespeople all the time is keeping them on the phones, keeping them fighting through the no until they get to the yes. In fact, many of our mentors teach us to embrace and have joy in the no, because it's one step closer to a yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Where did you learn to sell?
You know, I've got all kinds of ideas with that, Matt, right now. And I'm going to go in a direction that we hadn't planned on going in because you just spurred a story in my mind I remember so well. Where did I learn to sell? I learned from my dad, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later, but I don't want to forget to tell the story that we referred to earlier, the 40-10-5-2 rule.
Okay.
I remember when I was working at First American National Bank, I was probably 26, 27 years old, and I got a call one day from a gentleman, I do not remember his name, and I hate that. He's deceased now. But nevertheless, he was kind of known as Mr. Insurance here in Middle Tennessee. He was the general manager for Northwestern Mutual Life Insurance Agency here in town. And my secretary at the bank said, he's on the line, and my ears perked up because I didn't know him, but I certainly knew of him.
Sure.
So I took the call, and he was very nice and chit-chat for a minute or two, and he said, I'd love to treat you to lunch. Can you come over to my office next Thursday at 1 o'clock? And I said, well, sure. And so next Thursday at 1 o'clock, I showed up in his offices downtown. His secretary escorted me back, and he had brought in some box lunches. And so we sat there around his little conference table and ate lunch, and we're chatting for a while. And finally it dawned on me why he had me there. He was recruiting me to leave the bank and become a salesman for his insurance agency. And so once I realized that, I asked him, I said, why do you think I could be successful selling life insurance? I mean, I know that there's whole life and I know there's term life insurance, but beyond that, I really don't know hardly anything about life insurance. And so he went through and started saying, well, you're young and energetic, you dress well, you know how to present yourself, you're educated, you're articulate, you don't have any trouble meeting strangers. And so as he goes through all these things telling me how great I am, I can imagine right now my chest just kept puffing up a little bit because I'm thinking, oh man, he sees how great I am.
If only everybody saw that, right?
If only everybody saw it. But then he said, but Mike, and he kind of leaned in, he said, here's the real reason that I think you'll be successful. He said, because I believe you'll listen to me. Remember we talked earlier about having accountability partners or people in our lives, but us being willing to listen. He said, I believe you'll be successful because I think you'll listen to me. And he said, I'll teach you the 40-10-5-2 rule. And he kind of paused.
What's the 40-10-5-2
Exactly. I looked at him, I
rule?
said, his name was Bill Cochran, I believe now. It's coming back to me. I said, Mr. Cochran, what is the 40-10-5-2 rule? And he smiled. He said, well, it's simple. He says, every Monday when you show up and you come to your cubicle here, laying on your desk will be a printout. And it'll have 40 names of people with their contact information. And your job that week is to get a verbal connection with every one of them. Some of them you'll have to call 2, 3, 4 times. You'll have to leave a message. They'll call you back, miss you. They'll leave a message. But you've got to contact all 40 that week. Once you contact them, 10 of them will allow you to come out and make a presentation. He said, that means, Mike, 30 of them will say, no, thank you. And you got to be okay with that. Then he said, out of those 10 that you go out and you make a presentation to, 5 of them will allow you to make a follow-up presentation a few weeks or days later. He said, that means 5 more will say, no, thank you. And he said, out of the 5 that let you make a follow-up presentation, 2 of them will buy. Which means 3 more said what, Mike?
They said no.
They said no. So he said, the first thing I'm going to teach you is you've got to make 40 calls to get how many sales, Mike? 2. That also means out of those 40, 38 of those people in one way or another are going to say
no.
And I'm going to teach you to get excited every time you hear no, because that's getting you closer to the 2 that will buy and say yes. He said, so I'll teach you the 40-10-5-2 rule, which I think I've just done, right?
That's correct.
I said, yes, sir. He said, so I'm going to give you a little test just to be sure that you got it, just to be sure that you're who I think you are. He said, Mike, if you come in one week and you want 4 sales, how many people are you going to have to call and connect with in order to get those 4 sales? And I thought about it, and I said, well, that'd be 80, right? He said, see, I knew you'd be successful in the sales business.
Nice.